So I want to talk about 6 habits that made 233 millionaires ultra wealthy. This is really important because if we can just follow the habits of the ultra wealthy and we can mimic them, kind of like what we're always talking about with banking. We're always talking about you can be your own bank by mimicking what a bank does. Well, you can be just like the millionaires that we're about to talk about by mimicking what they do. So this is based on what 233 millionaires do, and you can just mimic it. So let's dive in. So I found this article that I loved. It was a guy who spent 5 years of his life going out, and what he did is he studied the habits. He studied the 6 specific habits that made 233 millionaires ultra wealthy. That got my attention. I'm thinking, whoa, 233 millionaires, and they had 6 habits that they all did that made them ultra wealthy. And I'm thinking about this and I'm like, you know what? I'm always talking to people about banking and how they can be their own bank. And I say, all you got to do to be your own bank is look at the banks and mimic what they do. And that's what I teach. So I figured, why don't I give a shot at teaching you what the 6 habits are of ultra wealthy multimillionaires, and you can just mimic that. Sounds pretty logical, right? Well, let's dive in. The very first thing these 233 ultra wealthy individuals did is they had a clear vision. And for that clear vision they had, they set specific goals. Many of these millionaires in the article, they had a clear vision of what they wanted to achieve, what they wanted to create, and they set specific measurable goals to help them get there. Simple. What is your vision? What are your dreams? Then what do you have to do to make them happen? Now, I know that seems daunting, but that's what these individuals did to get to this point where they're ultra wealthy. They just had a vision and they never let anyone stand in their way. They never let anyone tell them they couldn't do something. They just pushed forward and they set the things in place that would get them there. Here's the second thing that they did. And this is something that I can relate to. This is something I do really well, and all of you need to do this as well. So the second thing these 233 millionaires did is they were incredibly persistent and resilient. I sort of just mentioned that. The word persistent means that you just keep doing. You just keep going after it. You never stop. You're persistent in your pursuit. But they're also resilient. Resilient means when your broke-ass brother-in-law comes and tells you your vision, your idea is stupid, it's never going to work. When your parents, when your friends and family all tell you your ideas are dumb, it's never going to work. When they say that this is a scam and that's never going to be anything and I can't believe you do this. All that stuff. You got to be resilient. You see, building wealth and achieving success often, actually, I wouldn't even say often, I would say all the time, requires perseverance. And it requires the ability to overcome setbacks, because outside of people telling you you can't do something, the other thing you're going to have to overcome is you're going to have to overcome failures. Because I can guarantee you all 233 of these millionaires, they all failed. Probably not even once. They probably failed twice, 5 times, 10 times. And every time they failed, they persevered. They pushed through it. You know, there's lots of books on this, but this is a really important one because I think a lot of people quit 3 Feet from Gold. That's a book too. You should read it. Greg Reed's book, 3 Feet from Gold. Give him a little plug. In this pursuit to being persistent and resilient, the other thing the millionaires did in this article is they demonstrated this persistence and resilience as to one particular goal. So when they talked about being persistent and resilient, they didn't talk about that as a general thing, the way they lived their life. They talked about it on this one vision they had. They were persistent. They were pushing through and they were resilient and they never stopped. And that's why they became successful. The third thing that this article talked about is it talked about how they were proactive, how they took action on things. They didn't just talk about things, they actually were action takers. And instead of waiting for an opportunity to come to them, they went out there and they found opportunities. They created their own opportunities. These millionaires in the article were proactive in seeking out and creating these opportunities for themselves. What opportunities are you going out there creating? Because I know you are. You've got all these ideas. You got all these visions. What opportunities are you creating? And are your opportunities that you're creating ones that solve problems for someone else? I think that's another important thing to bring out. That wasn't in the article. But I think if you're going to create an opportunity for yourself, make sure that opportunity that you create and that vision solves a big problem for someone else. The fourth thing that they did is they had a really strong work ethic. I mean, that kind of just seems logical, seems like something that you would expect, right? If you're going to get to be a millionaire, you're going to get to be a multimillionaire and ultra wealthy, Of course, it's going to take a lot of strong work. And I can tell you, none of these people that were interviewed were silver spooners, if you know what I'm talking about. They weren't just handed a fortune in a trust fund. These were all self-starters, which means they worked really hard. It means working really hard, they had a strong work ethic. The millionaires in the article were also known for their dedication to their work. So they had the vision, they set the plan, and they were dedicated to their work. They loved what they did. It was their vision. It was their dream. And you know what? If you had created a vision and you created an opportunity for yourself, of course you'd be dedicated to it. Well, so were they. They were dedicated to their work and they were willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and anything that it needed to be successful. You see, I think a lot of people measure hard work by the number of hours that they put in. Oh, I worked 50 hours this week. I worked 60 hours this week. Forget about the number. It's not the number of hours you work. It's how dedicated you are to your work. And if you're dedicated to your work and it's your vision and it's your pursuit, it doesn't matter how many hours it takes. 120-hour work week, well, that to some people seems like there's no way I could ever do that. That's impossible. Entrepreneurs, these folks, these successful individuals, that probably was the norm. And you know what? They didn't come home and complain and bitch about it. This was what they were dedicated to. So in dedication, the number of hours it takes doesn't make any difference whatsoever. The next thing that I think is really important to understand that this article clearly outlined is these individuals were open to learning and open to improving themselves. They realized they didn't know everything and they were constantly learning, always reading, always studying, and always improving. You see, successful people, they're always lifelong learners. I have not met one that isn't still trying to learn. I know billionaires that still watch my videos. They'll comment on my videos. Like this one guy, Howard, he's always watching my YouTube videos, always commenting on my posts. Dude's a multi-billionaire, but he's constantly trying to learn. And you should be too. Listen, if these 233 multi-millionaires did this, why wouldn't you? Commit yourself. Commit yourself to be a lifelong learner like they were. And be open to new ideas. Don't be closed-minded. Be open to new ideas and always willing to continually improve yourself like they were always willing to improve themselves. You see, the millionaires in this article demonstrated this habit by seeking out new knowledge, seeking out feedback on what they were doing, and always improving. There's a book called Principles that Ray Dalio wrote. It's all about this. In his business, he wrote principles for how they operated. And a lot of his principles were actually having his employees tell him what he did wrong and argue with him. He was the big guy. He was the boss. And he told his employees through one of his principles that they should argue with him. They should factually prove their point to him. That right there is spelled out here. They were seeking new knowledge and seeking feedback so that they could always improve on what they were doing. That's hard for some people to do, especially leaders, especially people that are successful or bosses. A lot of times they think they've arrived. A lot of times I've met a lot of owners of companies and they think that they've arrived. They think that they know everything. They think they're better at everything than everybody else. But that's when your business starts going the other direction and goes back down because you have arrived. And the only place to go when you've arrived somewhere is back the other way. These individuals did not do that. They continually improved. And the final thing that this article talked about, and this I think is one of the most important things, they had a really strong support system. And I think you all could agree, like if you were gonna go on a big pursuit to really obtain your vision, to turn your vision into a massive opportunity, an opportunity that solved problems for millions, if not billions of people, well, you better have a strong support system. Many of these millionaires in the article credited their success to the support and the guidance of mentors, family members, and friends. Now, you may not have family members that support you. You might not have friends that support you. And you know what? You might have to put some family members in timeout. I had to put my dad in timeout. You might have to take your friends and, well, put them in timeout too, or find new friends. See, this is really hard, but having a strong network of supportive people, people that believe in your vision, people that push you toward it, no matter how hard or how down you are, that's support. And sometimes it's only one person. You ever see the movie Rudy? Nobody supported Rudy. Nobody thought he could do it. And I love Rudy. I had Rudy speak at one of my events a couple of years ago. He's an unbelievable person. But if you watch that movie, he had one person that supported him. That's right. The janitor that didn't say much. He pushed him. He supported him, didn't he? It's all you sometimes need is one person that believes in you. These folks understood that, and they had a strong network of people that supported them and helped these individuals achieve their massive goals and overcome the massive challenges that came along with that. You see, folks, these are 6 habits, 6 traits, 6 things 233 multimillionaires did. And every one of them are things you can do. So let's just hit them real quick. The first thing they did is they had a clear vision and a clear set of goals. The second thing that they were is they were persistent and resilient in everything that they do in pursuing their goals. The third thing that they were is they were proactive. They took action. They didn't just talk, they did. It's a big difference. They had a strong work ethic. They went out there and they were willing to put the time in. They were willing to put the effort, the energy, and the everything that was needed. The fifth thing, they were always open to learning, open to improving, open to feedback from other people on what they're doing wrong. That's the hardest thing. And the final thing, the sixth thing, they had a strong support system. And whatever your support system is, just remember, you might only have one person that believes in you like Rudy. It might be a janitor. That might be all you need, because Rudy went on to be massively successful. He's a pretty cool guy. Someday I'll tell you the story of what he did when he came out to speak to our group in a big theater that we rented out. It was pretty wild, so stay tuned for that. But also, if you liked this video, check this one out. Should I pay my mortgage or should I invest that money? We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining.